Thank you for joining us. This is Wealth in the Winner's Circle with financial advisor Harley Shanklin of the RDW Financial Group. I am Spike Spangle. Harley, how you doing this week, my man?
Good as always, Spike.
I am really surprised that you were willing to pull back the curtain on today's topic. But when you're working with a financial advisor of any kind, I'm sure it's on a lot of folks' minds. What are the costs? What are the true costs? What are the fees? Because we talk about getting your written financial plan at no cost to you. We talk about your complete S.T.A.R.T process. How in the world would you be able to provide that at no cost? But let me start out with it. Fees? You don't mind talking about it?
Not at all, Spike. Not at all. I think it's extremely important within this business to be transparent when we have the honor, and I truly mean that when I say that, the honor to work with the great Americans that we get to work with. I think being transparent is so important, especially in a world where there seems to be less and less interpersonal relationships going on. We're all going online, onto social media, all these things. So we want to, as you said, open up the curtains. Let's all look behind it and see what we're all dealing with. And that just creates a much better relationship.
All right. I'm glad to do it. Well, I'm sure it's got to be one of the questions that people will ask you, whether you're doing a seminar or they call in from the phone number they'll see on the bottom of the screen, or they just come in for the very first time and go, all right, what are your fees? That's a fair question. But there's also a difference in going to a fast food restaurant, going to one of those mid-level chain restaurants, going to a fine dining restaurant, and going to one of those premium grocery stores, spending $200 and trying to cook everything at home on your own. I mean, yeah, it depends.
I mean, you're right. And it is a fair question, but here's the thing. It's the wrong question. Because the question should be is, what value, what is my return that I'm going to get on the fee that I'm going to pay? Because here's the thing out there, folks. If you're working with a financial professional, a true fiduciary, there is going to be some sort of fee, right? Myself, any other advisor out there can't work for free. We have to keep the lights on as well. The question becomes is, what value are you getting in return for that fee? Because I often tell folks, look, fees only matter in the absence of value. It's just like if you were walking through the desert, no water, and you came across someone selling bottles of water for $100, you'd pay that $100.
Absolutely.
Because of the value you're going to get from it, you know. But in our everyday life, obviously, we're not going to pay $100 for a bottle of water. And it's the same thing with working with a financial professional is that fee has to the value rather has to outweigh the fee that you're going to pay.
I get what you're saying. I want to play with that analogy a little bit because the bottle of water is always just a bottle of water. Now, if you're in the desert, you need that bottle of water. If you're stuck up on an airplane, you need that bottle of water. You need something like that. But if you're at a grocery store, you can go get it yourself. You're not going to pay a higher amount. But the water is always the water. I think what you're saying in value is that you're not just getting one thing for what that fee is. I think for a lot of viewers out there, they want to know what your fee is, and they're thinking about the investments, if I'm anywhere near correct. But investments aren't the only thing you do, correct?
No. Investments are definitely a very important part of what we do, right? That serves kind of the foundation of everything. But we also want to make sure that we're taking into consideration what are someone's income needs in retirement? What are the taxes going to look like? Because when we talk about fees, taxes is really just another form of fees that all of us are paying out there right now, whether it's from our income or investments or anything, right? We are paying taxes, that's a fee. We also want to look at our advanced planning or estate planning to see how is your estate currently structured and is it going to pass properly? God forbid something happened to you out there. We also want to look at the risk management of it, make sure that you're taking the right amount of risk in your investments at the right time to then structure that tailored investment strategy. That's where our whole S.T.A.R.T process comes into play. So for those of you out there watching, the question to ask is your advisor talking to you about your tax return every year? And not just last year's tax return, but what this next year is going to look like, and the year after that, and the year after that, because we want to make sure that you're on the right path for it. Are they helping you reevaluate your insurance needs? Things that we don't even, Spike, we don't sell P&C insurance, but we want to make sure that we're helping our clients navigate that route to make sure that their coverage right now is the coverage that they need. Also, obviously, we want to look at the investment piece, make sure that your investments out there are structured in such a way that is going to continue to lead you down that path of success to where you can have the confidence going through retirement.
As you said, though, you've got to keep the lights on. How is it that as you're broadcasting this show right now, that you can say to the viewership out there, we're glad to do a portfolio review, a complete workup, a complete review, at no cost? Come on, you got to keep the lights on. You got to pay for the assistants and everybody there. How can you do that at no cost to folks?
I like to use the analogy of building a house, right? We're not actually building the house. We're putting together the blueprints of it. And we've been doing this for a long time, Spike. We've been in business for over 25 years. I've been doing this for over 11 now. And through our retirement start planning process, is already kind of the rough outline of what a house is supposed to look like, or a financial house in this case. And so we take the parts that you already have and put that together in a blueprint that's going to look pretty good. Go over that, show somebody how they're going to be able to progress successfully through retirement. If that makes sense, then we start building the house.
Okay. So, and then you'll implement, and then you'll need all of the, proverbial lumber and
Correct.
The foundation and everything. But what you're doing is you're kind of building that blueprint. And that's something as a deliverable that people can take with them.
Oh, 100%.
After the first meeting or two?
100%. So
you would give your house blueprints to somebody, and then what? I mean, they could go have that done by another builder.
They could, but you know what, Spike? I am so confident in myself and all the professionals at RDW Financial Group that we are going to build a better house for that person going into retirement. That's how confident I am. And you're exactly right. It's in that second meeting that we present that and review the initial rough draft, if you will. And I make it very clear to put things in there that are completely actionable outside of us or any other financial firm, because I never want anyone to feel like, for those of you out there who have the opportunity to call that number at the bottom of the screen, I want you to know there's never going to be a time where you're going to hear Harley, Shanklin, or any other advisor in our office say, well, as long as you work with us and do this plan, everything is going to be sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns. That's just not the case, right? We want to make sure that we're building something, showing our value up front, but without the pressure.
All right, for our viewers out there, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, you can get started on your own written financial plan at no cost to you. All you have to do is dial the phone number. There are folks who are standing by. They'll schedule an appointment for you. If you want to, you can schedule your own appointment right now. I'm sure you've got your phone there as well. Open it up to the camera function and point it at this QR code. You can click on it and you can go schedule your own appointment right there. More with Harley Shanklin, your financial advisor, right after this.
One thing I think that sets us apart is our focus on education, and not only for ourselves professionally, but also for our clients. So within our office, we have an education center where we're able to hold monthly events and present on various financial topics, but we also bring in outside experts. So when it comes to things like estate planning, we want to have an estate attorney come in, talk about wills, talk about trusts, the importance of powers of attorney and things like that. We have a CPA that comes in to talk about taxes, and then we also do fun events. We've done wine and canvas nights where we have the clients come in and we all get to paint pictures and with a nice glass of wine. We've had mixologists come in and teach us how to make our favorite drinks. People with travel, gardening. We do all sorts of stuff because we want to make sure that our clients are getting educated in the ways that are important to them, whether it's their finances or those fun things that they may have wanted to try but haven't actually had an opportunity to try it. Did you know Uncle Sam might be your partner in retirement? It's true. If you have a 401k, IRA, pension, or similar retirement accounts, they're all tax targets. But how much? Get our easy-to-use tax calculator and plug in the numbers. Go to rdwtaxtest.com and find out your potential tax hit.
Welcome back to Wealth in the Winner's Circle with financial advisor Harley Shanklin of the RDW Financial Group. Today, fees. Come on, I can't believe it. You're willing to pull back the curtain and actually talk about it. Look, all right, you're probably saying out there, come on, let's get to the numbers. 1 or 2%. I usually hear those numbers. We charge a 1% or an industry standard at a 1.5%. Is that fair? Is that reasonable? That 1 to 2%?
That is where the common fee falls into. Typically between 1 and 1.5% is what we'll typically see as an industry standard across the board. And that's where we fall into. We fall into that same range there. The question becomes, and what we were talking about in the previous segment, is what are you actually getting for that fee? Because 9 times out of 10, all someone is getting is just management of the investments out there. And we want to take it a much further step. Everything from taxes to estate planning to risk management, all of those other things that encompass your financial life, right? Health insurance. We don't sell health insurance, but we want to make sure that we're talking to our clients and educating them about that to make sure that they fully understand the landscape out there.
So if you're helping manage I'm trying to put all the pieces together. If you're trying to help manage my assets and I want to ask you about Social Security, do you mind putting Social Security into that financial blueprint, or is that something separate? Because you can't make money off of my Social Security, can you?
I cannot, but it is definitely a big part of our planning process. In fact, it falls within the first step of our retirement START planning process. It starts with secure income. That's what the first S in START stands for. And obviously, for all of you watching out there, Social Security is going to be one of your main income sources in retirement, and we want to make sure that we're helping you decide on when and how best to take that for you and your specific financial situation out there.
Okay. So Social Security is in there. You talked about insurance. Oh, and I always call it jargon alert. You said PNC, so I'm assuming property and casualty, right? So,
correct.
So you don't really necessarily do home insurance or business insurance or whatever it might be. We call it E&O in our industry. But you review that for folks to make sure that they have proper coverages?
Oh, yes. We talk about that with all of our clients every opportunity that we get, at least once every couple of years, because it's one of those things that typically doesn't need to change every single year, but it's something that we want to make sure that we're reviewing at least every 2 to 3 years to make sure that it is still in alignment with what we currently have.
And then what about, because it will take me, if you don't mind, through other parts of the START process, which on our program here, we call it the written financial plan, but your START process, does this include having conversations about estate planning, or again, this 1% that's only on the investments, now you got to go pay another % to go talk to your estate planning attorney? No,
there are no separate other fees or anything like that. Our management fee is all encompassing. It covers every part of our retirement START planning process. So as I said, that first S, secure income, looking at Social Security, pensions, right? Basically all of someone's fixed income in a retirement. Then we move on to the T, which is tax efficiency, making sure that you out there are not paying too much to Uncle Sam, because guess what? They're not going to call you up. Our Aunt Iris or the IRS is not going to call you up and say, hey, Joe, John, Sally, Mary, you're paying too much in taxes. It's not going to happen. More times than not, all we're doing when we file our taxes, Spike, is we're just looking in the rearview mirror to see what happened and how much we may still owe come April 15th. We want to take a strategic look out into the future. Then we move on to the A, advanced planning. That's just another way of saying estate planning or legacy planning to make sure that your assets are protected in the way that you want them to be and that you have the right plan. I'm not a lawyer. My legal knowledge, Spike, extends just far enough to get you in trouble. But we have the ability to sit down and help you at least formulate somewhat of a plan of what you may need and then get you in contact with the right professional that's not just going to sell you a bill of goods for the opportunity to sell you something. Then we move on to that all-important risk management where we look at the risk to your life, health, and investments, making sure that that's all in alignment, which then leads to the final T, tailored investments, making sure that your investment portfolio is structured in a way that it's going to work in concert. Just like a well-performing race car, we want to make sure all cylinders are firing how they're supposed to, when they're supposed to, and in concert with each other. Your finances, your investments in retirement need to be the same. It's not a separate piece. It's all one piece.
Wow. Because there's so much that goes into it. You've got the investment aspect of it. And let's say we've got a married couple out there. They can both have different kinds of investments. They have different 401ks, maybe, or savings, or inheritance from a mom and dad. They have real estate property. They have maybe their own business. Maybe one of them is a private contractor. I mean, these are lots of different elements. So If I have $500,000 in savings, but we're also close to paying off the $400,000 house and all of these different insurances, can you break down that 1% for me? I mean, is it 1% on everything that I'm bringing to you that ask questions about?
So for a lot of advisors out there, that's how they do it. They charge that 1% fee on everything without actually adding any other value outside of the investment management piece of it. And so oftentimes, we may hear, well, Harley, your fees are higher. Why would I go with you? And what we're able to do through that retirement start planning process, because we look at fees, we want to try and provide as much tangible information as possible. And through that, we're able to show, well, hey, maybe you're paying 1% on $500,000. That's $5,000 a year in fees. But with us and the plan that we build, it's typically not billing on the entire amount because we're using other sorts of investments and products in there that take that money out of the equation. So maybe with us, you're only paying 1% on $400,000 or $300,000. I ask you out there, what sort of an impact could that make if you're saving $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a year in fees that you're paying for no actual added value beyond just the investment management piece of it? That adds up quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with the investment part of the portfolio, if we say that we're charging a fee on that, can you tell me how you're also watching that and protecting that? I mean, I know nobody out there has a crystal ball. We don't know the next time when the market's going to go down. We do know that we've seen a lot of volatility over the last couple of years, but I also know that study after study, nobody can time the market properly over and over again. So with this management fee, how are you watching somebody's portfolio to kind of avoid these ups and downs? Is that possible?
Well, it for sure is. I mean, for one thing, we don't take necessarily a passive approach or a fully active approach. It's a balance in between the two, because you're exactly right. You cannot time the market out there. And I don't care. Anybody who says that they can is just not being honest. They're either lying to themselves or something, because it's just not possible. But what we do want to make sure that we're doing is taking an active approach in that we're reevaluating the current market landscape as well as your current financial landscape to make sure that the investment track that we're on, if it's that market-based money, is it still structured in a way that's going to be able to weather those ups and downs? Do you have enough equity or market-based stuff versus the bonds or fixed income to help balance things out? Should we have a significant correction? All of those things to make sure that we're staying in line with the overall plan as well as the fee piece of it, right? Because we don't want to all top our fees on top of other fees on top of other fees, which can come along with many of the investments that we've talked about on this show over the year, whether it's mutual funds or various types of, variable annuities, anything like that come with fees. We want to pay attention to that. As
we have up on the bottom of the screen right now, it's a complimentary written financial plan. You call it inside the offices the START process. Briefly, it's not just about the fees on your investments. You're comprehensive in your approach. What are the elements of the START process?
So the START process, it's just our way of putting an acronym on something. Every letter of the word START stands for something different. S is for secure income. It's that fixed income, pension, Social Security, all those pieces. Then we move on to the tax efficiency piece of it, making sure that we're not just filing our taxes, but that we're being strategic about how we're paying, when we're paying, how we're withdrawing our money, and how our various monies are structured within different types of accounts. Then we move on to the advanced planning piece of it. That's the A. That's just another way of saying estate planning or legacy planning, where we don't want to take a deep dive into how you want those assets to pass on to the next generation should something be left at the end, that we can avoid that all fearing thing called probate, where the county in which you reside, some judge is now going to decide in your absence how your assets are going to be distributed. Then we move on to the R, risk management, where we're looking at the risk to your life, health, and investments, because those are all different things and it all changes when you go into retirement. So we need to take that seriously, which then leads us to that tailored investment strategy, making sure that our investments, your investments out there are working with every other part of that plan, that is working with the amount of risk you should be taking. It's in concert with your estate plan, your taxes, as well as that secure income piece to make sure that you're going to continue the success that you built up to this point.
It is an incredibly important question to ask. What are your fees? But another question to ask yourself is, what are you getting for who you're working with? What is the value that they're providing? If you aren't getting comprehensive advice, like you've heard from here on the S.T.A.R.T program, call that phone number. Get started on your own written financial plan, your S.T.A.R.T process here from RDW Financial Group. We'll be right back with more Wealth in the Winner Circle right after this.
Back in the early 80s, actually got involved in the transportation field, helped develop a software package for the transportation industry. And software is okay, it's a good profession, it did very, very well financially, but it wasn't my passion. And my passion really developed during the years at that company when I would have these companies come in, the 401k providers, and actually provide no advice. And I'm a baby boomer, and I realized that in 1999 that there was going to be a real need for retirement planning down the road. I'm part of the biggest generation ever, but nobody was talking about it. And so I went home and I told my wife that I had left the company. Of course, she goes, "What?" But I'm going to start my own financial planning firm. I believe there's a need for it. My passion's for it. I enjoy doing it. And so that's how it all started in 2000, working out of the basement, and also making a decision whether or not I was going to be independent or going to work for a firm. And obviously, I chose to be independent for a plethora of reasons. It gives us choices to make decisions for our clients and to involve them in the process without the need of feeling some push to focus on a particular group of products or a particular group of companies.
Welcome back. You are with financial advisor Harley Shanklin of the RDW Financial Group. This is Wealth in the Winner Circle, and I am Spike Spangle today. I can't believe it. He's pulling back the curtain here. We're going behind the set, and he's talking about fees, and I really do get the value. I totally understand what you're saying, that when somebody's saying, "Oh, what are your fees on your investments?" If they're only talking to you about an investment strategy, you're not getting comprehensive advice. What about on the flip side, though? Again, we'll go to those annuity words and phrases. People will often say, "Well, you don't pay a fee. You don't pay a fee for these annuities." I'm finding that hard to believe.
Well, it's true and it's not true, Spike. Okay. As with so many other things in life, there's multiple sides to the annuity coin, so to speak. And in a lot of cases, it is correct in that most annuities or a lot of annuities out there don't have any sort of fee charged on it, not by the advisor or the insurance company. And we can do that as an advisor because the insurance company pays us, not you, the client. Now, in some sorts of annuity products, typically if it's income-based, there is some sort of fee in there. And that's to back up the guarantees that product is offering you, to make sure that if you buy an income annuity out there or have one, to make sure that that income is going to be guaranteed and secured for as long as you live. But it is a reasonable fee, and what that does is it takes away from all the other fees that you may be paying on your other investments out there. And the question becomes is, and I know we've talked about this before, Spike, when it comes to annuities, there's a whole lot of different flavors to them or different types. Mm-hmm. And I often think about when I was an infantry medic. When I was an infantry medic, I carried a whole bag full of various medications out there to treat my patients out there on the battlefield, whether they were other soldiers or anything like that. But it didn't mean that I needed to give all those medications to every single casualty.
I think that would be bad, yeah.
What does it take? It takes diagnosis. Mm-hmm. Just like I had to do on the battlefield, diagnosing to see what sort of interventions or medications do I need to provide this individual to make sure that they make it? It's the same thing when it comes to our finances. What we do at RDW Financial Group through that retirement start planning process is our diagnostic process to make sure that we are choosing the right solutions in there. And now, maybe not everyone can relate to the medic analogy, but we've all been to Baskin-Robbins. How many flavors do they have?
31.
31, right? But are all 31 of those flavors good for everybody that walks through the door?
No, because every now and then there's a sherbet. Who wants that?
Who wants that?
Come on. You do have your sherbet.
But that's why they give you the tasting, so you can see which one matches your palate best.
But what I really appreciate, because what I would like, I think a lot of viewers to start thinking about is that if you are working with the right kind of financial representative, that they should also be a bit of a triage financial doctor as well. What do we really need? And not everyone has the same kind of background and experience. It is a great question for our viewers to ask, what are your fees? You should know how they work. You should understand what they are and what they mean to your investments. I sometimes think, though, a better question is, can you tell me about your practice, or what is your approach, or what kind of financial doctor are you? How would you answer that question to somebody? Because you can't answer for all the other kind of financial people who are out there, but you can for your firm.
Yeah, well, and you're exactly right. Asking about fees is very important. It's important to know, right? But we also want to ask it in the context of exactly what you said is, what are we getting for this fee? And with RDW Financial Group, that is that all-encompassing, comprehensive, detailed retirement income plan that we go through with everybody to make sure that, one, you out there have a full and clear understanding of everything within your financial world, which then allows us to go to our financial toolbox and choose the right tool. And fees are definitely a part of that. And we want to make sure that we're doing that fee analysis to show you how much you may be paying. And that's a question I would throw out to all of you out there watching right now is, do you know how much you're paying? Not the percentage, the dollar amount. And do you know if that is the only fee that you're paying? Because that's just what's showing up on your statement. Or are there other fees behind that in the funds that you own, the mutual funds, anything else like that that you may not be aware of because they just don't put it on the statement, Spike?
And you don't mind with your organization, with your team, with all the advisors being clear and open with all of your fees?
No, in fact, Spike, part of our presentation process when we sit down to go through someone's retirement start plan is to show them, here's the fee that you will pay on your investments in a dollar form. Because with everything, I want to be as transparent as possible. Our value has to be some multiple above the fee that you're paying to us or any other financial advisor. And I want all of us to go into it open-eyed and aware of what's out there, because we want to have that ongoing discussion every year to make sure that we're still the right advisor.
Harley, thank you so very much today. I really appreciate it. I hope our viewers learned something about fees. It is a very important question to ask. You should understand them yourself, but also understand what value are you getting for what that advisor team is going to do for you. Investments, taxes, Social Security, estate planning, healthcare selections, all that more is part of what the team does here at the RDW Financial Group. And you can get started on your own written financial plan right now. Call that phone number down on the bottom of the screen. There are folks who are standing by who will schedule that appointment. No cost, no obligation to you. Or you can scan this QR code with your camera on the phone. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week.